She was forcibly removed from her home in District 6 in the late 1960s, and she almost lost her house again in the same historic suburb now in 2025. But today, 78-year-old Noor-Banu Allie is celebrating a triumphant win in the Western Cape High Court. Journalist Marvin Charles brings us this incredible story.
There's so much emotion attached to District 6, and you can't treat this eviction case as merely a property dispute because it literally involves inequality and past dispossession, which played such a huge role, and context matters in this case.
Later in our training topic, he's held 3 top cabinet positions. Now Malusi Gigaba finds himself on a court dock charged with corruption. And finally, epic aviator Amy Johnson broke her solo flying record from England to Cape Town with On This Day in South African History.
New episodes of The Lead air Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m.
My name's Graeme Robenheimer, this is The Lead, and this is the South African story. This episode of The Lead is brought to you by 10X Investments. 10X, your future. Moving to our top story today, every now and then a modern-day David and Goliath story comes along that warms our hearts. Today, that story is about 78-year-old Noor-Banu Allie, a long-time District 6 resident who was forcibly removed from that area in the late 1960s. She very nearly suffered the same fate, though, recently when her landlord dug their heels in, but a Western Cape High Court ruling has now allowed her to keep renting her humble District 6 house. More with this incredible story now is our journalist Marvin Charles. He's in our Cape Town studios. It's been a hot minute. I haven't had you on the show in a long time, Marv. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. My favorite story of the week thus far. I'm just adding that little caveat. It's incredible. Well done. How is Miss Ali doing, and how's the story affected you as well as a Cape Townian?
Well, I think it's an incredible story, actually, because, last night I was with the Untitled lawyers to deliver the news to her that she won the High Court ruling. She was overjoyed. She's completely thrilled about it, and it was incredible to witness.
Yeah, and this perfect little scene of her with waving the Palestinian flag with the Untitled lawyers on the steps of the Western Cape High Court will be brandished in our memory for a really long time. Take us through her historical origins, where she sort of started. Her family's from India, right?
Yeah. So Auntie Ali's life is quite intertwined with the history of District 6. She was born in India in 1947. She was brought to Cape Town as a toddler and then grew up in District 6. She was moving between families, and she worked at her aunt's shop in Salaries Road, and then later at her cousin's butchery in Hanover Street. So these weren't just places for her, these were their homes, basically. And she witnessed firsthand the pain of the 1968 declaration of District 6 becoming a white group area, and, followed by bulldozing of homes, businesses and communities, especially her family's butcher shop. So it's very much, more of a personal story to her, and she, like thousands of others, were displaced, and that trauma basically stayed with her.
Yeah, 100%. It was 66, it was declared a white group areas, and 68 is when finally the bulldozers came in 2 years later, just to add that, Marv. But obviously it's a process. It took a really long time, and it was only until, I think, the early 80s that a lot of the families were out by that point. It's a tragic besmirchment on the history of South Africa, and it's taken such a long time, obviously, to reverse those effects. She comes back, she wants to live in District 6 again, and she goes to Dorset Street. Now, I found this really interesting. If you Google Dorset Street in Google Maps, it doesn't come up.
It doesn't. It's literally like a small slither road, and it basically has many other roads in the street. So it is there. It does still exist, but Google just doesn't pick it up.
A small little housey? How big is it? It's one of these duplex houses, right?
Very humble and very, hidden away, a bit badly maintained, but, that was also the bone of contention with her case as well.
Right, but she's in the middle of the city centre. It's so tough, as we know, with all the headlines over the last 2-3 years of how difficult it is to rent or even own property in the middle of Cape Town. It's just out of reach, especially for people from, disadvantaged backgrounds. She's been renting there since 2006, right?
So she basically has lived there for nearly 20 years. She rented the property from the late Ruth Nadine and then later subsequently from the owners of this property with formal leases, paying her rent faithfully. I mean, even in the judgment, the judges noted how meticulous she was with every lease agreement, every documentation, and with every payment. And in 2018, her troubles basically started when the property became under the new management of Walid Ras Property Management. She started facing steep rent increases, poor maintenance, and faulty water meters as well. And when she went to the rental housing tribunal for help, the management agent basically retaliated with issuing her a notice to vacate the property, claiming that the property was in need for renovation. And from there, the pressure escalated for this to be a formal eviction proceeding.
And before this point, she wasn't really paying a lot for her rent every month, right? It was quite a small amount in relation to her age, where she was, etc. And she had her own prior agreement, right, before things started taking a turn for the worse around 2018. Is that right?
Yes. So she was paying basically 750 rand initially, and then it escalated. It then increased to around 1,750 rand, and what we know is that that's the amount that she's still been paying.
Do we know the reasons why, and let's not speculate, but do we know the reasons why suddenly from 2018 onwards, the real motive for wanting to get her out and then upgrade the residence? Is it that where our minds are going to, that this is, a gentrification of that particular part of District 6?
I do think so. Look, we can only speculate at this time, but the property, what I've seen, and I was there last night, it's incredibly run down. It's badly maintained. It hasn't gotten a lick of paint at all, so it's a very run-down property, unfortunately. And I think what Walid Ras Properties was trying to do was gentrify the area, and to make that property available either for developers to move in and to
new shops, new boutiques, the rest. We've seen it in Woodstock and many different parts of Cape Town, right? So essentially a magistrate gets this eviction order against Miss Ali following the tribunal's ruling, and then now brings us to the Untitled Chapter intervening, becoming her lawyers pro bono, and then this Western Cape High Court judgment just this week. What does that ruling say? Is it quite scathing, Marv?
Extremely scathing. The High Court ruling was very critical about both the landlord and the magistrate. They called that the eviction attempts were legally untenable, opportunistic and disingenuous, and it states that the landlord's reliance on renovations and to cancel her lease was a rush, and that the magistrate failed to apply the law properly in this case.
Sure. So essentially, she can now stay in Dorset Street, right?
Yeah, basically. So she gets to stay there, and what we also know is that the eviction has now been dismissed. She cannot be removed on the basis of this flawed application that was brought, and obviously Untitled Chapter will be representing her.
Do we know now if the actual property itself will still get refurbished? Do we know that much yet?
We don't know.
Okay, we don't know yet. Okay. She's also been, in the meantime, trying to stake her claim as part of a very fraught District 6 process, and we're not going to go into those nitty-gritties because I don't think we have enough time. It's such a long saga that has been a key story that most Cape Town journalists have done at least once in their career. Where do we sit with the claimant's process? Miss Ali's not exempt from that process. She's been trying to stake a claim on behalf of her family for a really long time, right?
And I mean, last night when we spoke to her, she said that, the previous regime has failed her, and now this regime has failed her as well, because this has been such a long and painful journey for her. I mean, she originally lodged her claim for her family's home in Hanover Street, but the Lands Claim Commission, as we all know, charming, lost her documents. And it was widely reported at the time. It was a thing that usually occurred with District 6 claimants. I mean, we all know those stories when they try to get the land claims and then the documents get lost. She reapplies in 2015, but her claim gets frozen after the Constitutional Court struck down the 2014 Restitution Amendment Act, which had to reopen the claims process, but there was no proper consultation for it.
Right.
And then there was no new claims that could be processed until older claims could be processed.
Right. And Ground Up is a news agency. Sometimes you'll see the reporting on the front page of News 24. And they just recently did a deep dive, I think it was, on the 27th of October, updating us on the claimant's process. And at this stage, it's feared that more than 700 further claimants might not live to see their rights restored, quote unquote, from that Ground Up report. I wonder if Miss Allie doesn't fall into that bracket.
That's the thing, because it is possible that after 2 failed restitution attempts, she may never see her claim resolved in her lifetime.
Sure. And I'm District 6. I mean, some people still refer to it as Zonneblum. It's a very tetchy point. There's a lot of open land still in the area. A lot of it has not been seen any new construction in a really long time.
Yeah, no developments, no movement at all. And it's quite sad because, I mean, so many people are still dying and there's no justice to go back to that area.
Squatters moving in. I don't know if you've seen that. Close to the mosque there. Let's end off here. And I just had this one sort of feeling about this entire story. Miss Allie just wants to live in District 6 because that's what she knows from her childhood. You know, I, as a young white South African, I'd love to live in Boston and Bellville again one day. And what's stopping me from living there? Nothing. Your thoughts, Marv?
I think that it's also like, a reflection of how deep the housing crisis in Cape Town is, especially among the elder facing displacement in Cape Town. I mean, one thing that this ruling has showed is that the fact that the courts have to be cognizant of the fact of history. I mean, District 6 happened, unfortunately. And, there's so much emotion attached to District 6, and you can't treat this eviction case as merely a property dispute because it literally involves inequality and past dispossession, which played such a huge role, and context matters in this case.
100%. I think we're going to leave it there. There's nothing more to say. Marv has literally dropped the mic in that regard. Marvin Charles, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for returning to the lead. I can't wait to see what you cook up next because this is genuinely such a fantastic story. Thanks for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
At 10X Investments, we don't only help you invest for retirement, we help you craft a legacy. With thoughtful planning and meticulous execution, you can create the retirement future you've always wanted. Invest with us today. 10X your future. 10X is a licensed FSB.
Trending topic.
Moving to our training topic, and he was once our finance minister and held the very same positions in both home affairs and public enterprises, mostly during the Zuma administration years. His estranged ex-wife has on more than one occasion spilled the beans on their past life, and even a leaked sex tape has revealed more about this ANC member of parliament than some of us would have liked to know. But today, Malusi Gigaba found himself in the middle of a courtroom accused's dock in Palm Ridge, flanked and co-charged with corruption alongside 4 others in the multi-billion rand Transnet locomotive tender trial. The investigating directorate against corruption says the charge relates to the undue monies Gigaba allegedly pocketed from the Guptas, especially during his 4 years at public enterprises.
The commissioning of the offences allegedly took place during a period when Dr. Gigaba was the Minister of Public Enterprises, to which millions of rands were lost during the awarding of these irregular contracts.
Prior, the State Capture Commission found that Gigaba was key in getting co-accused Brian Molefe the job as Transnet boss, both of whom had cozied up to the Guptas quite nicely at this point. Gigaba, though, via his lawyers, insists he's innocent, with the case set to resume end of January next year. That's before which the trial is set to get underway in the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. Now, the rest of the co-accused, Molefe included, Anaj Singh, Siyabonga Gama and Tamsanqa Jayani, are all out on bail. Gigaba, who's currently the co-chair of Parliament's Joint Standing Committee on Defence, was also previously released by police on a warrant. What say you about all of this? Drop us a voice note 072 562 3179.
This is Bruce Whitfield's Business Week. It's powered by Capitec, the business bank for everyone. It's business without the boring bits. Each week we share with you just what you need to know to help you understand and better navigate a deeply complex, a really confusing and uncertain world. A weekly wrap of the most important stories from the world of business, money and finance on News 24.
And finally
ending off with On This Day in South African History, the 18th of November 1932. British aviation pioneer Amy Johnson touched down in the mother city on this day in 1932, breaking her own solo flying record on the same route done earlier in the year by more than 10 hours. Johnson, who had earned her pilot's license in 1929, became a global sensation as the very first woman to fly solo from Britain to Australia. She went on to set multiple long-distance records, including a one-day flight from London to Moscow and a route from England to Japan. Her daring feats continued with her husband, fellow aviator Jim Mollison, with whom she attempted non-stop transatlantic flights and set new speed records to India as well as South Africa. Johnson later served as a first officer with Britain's Air Transport Auxiliary during the Second World War, and in 1940, after getting lost in a storm on a routine flight, she bailed out over the Thames estuary and drowned in a failed rescue attempt. Her body has since never been recovered, and the exact circumstances remain a mystery to this day. What's certain, though, is her lasting impact on aviation history. Before we sign off, I thought I'd give a quick hot take today. I thought this hilarious comment from Chester Missing, that oh-so-notorious puppet, could end off our show for today. You may have seen reports that South Africa has been consternating in the midst of the US absence at the upcoming G20 event this weekend about having a possible declaration being made at this G20 summit. And then after which, South Africa then has to hand over the G20 presidency to the US. And of course, the US, under the Trump administration, won't be at this event. Now reports have emerged that the US has apparently sent some sort of a letter that is now trying to stop South Africa from making a unified declaration at this particular G20 summit. To which Chester Missing has now responded with the following. Imagine bunking a party and then still wanting to tell people what they're allowed to do at the party. The audacity. I couldn't have said it any better than Chester Missing itself. What say you? Do you even really care about the G20? Do you care that the US is not coming? Do you care about the reasons as to which the US claims why it's not coming? And what about a G20 declaration? It's going to be interesting scenes, and I think we're dedicating our Thursday edition of The Lead this week to all of this. Until then, my name's Graeme, and so long as there's trusted news first, we'll have The Lead. This episode of The Lead was brought to you by 10X Investments. 10X, your future.